Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dad Bods and Bad Attitudes. We are your hosts. I'm Christopher Samella. He's Mark Davis, just a couple of middle-aged white guys with some guitars, dad bods, bad attitudes, and a whole lot of fire for what's going on in the world. And we're going to get started today right off the bat with the latest from Mark on his congressional campaign, and then we'll wrap up the show today talking about the latest atrocities in Trump's America. So, Mark, let's just get started right now. You've got a lot going on. There's been a lot of news just in the past 2 weeks or so since you and I last cut an episode about the campaign, and I'd love to hear all about it.
Oh man, we got so much going on. I was just talking to you, off camera about how my calendar is starting to really fill up, and I love it. And the energy. Just today, we went to a soup kitchen here in Bradenton, and we were able to feed hundreds of people warm food. And
Oh, great.
I was in line, and I was, helping to serve food. And afterwards, met some wonderful people that were part of the Democrat Party. It was also put on by the LGBTQ plus community as well. And it was just a special time to be in the community and, see how Democrats specifically are helping people in need. So just today, my guy had got to experience that. But rewind about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we have a professional team now. We have a PR company, Francis Garcia, that is helping mold our message and make sure that we're reaching the right people and making sure that we're staying connected and networking and refining our social media. So if you go to markdavisforcongress.com, you can see that we have it is markdavisforcongress.com. Did you
can't
hear?
plug that too many times. I mean, take it from a marketing guy. Your job now is to shamelessly promote for the next year and a half.
Yes, yes. And did you hear me say it? Did you hear me?
Oh, I heard you.
You did. You don't need me to repeat it again?
Go ahead and repeat it
Okay.
again.
It was markdavisforcongress.com. But if you go to the website, you can see just the fantastic work that our group is doing. Our team is, we have, about 6 or 7 dedicated folks on our team right now. And then we also have a lot of volunteers that are starting. We're starting to dial and reach out to people and grow our network into multiple communities. But right now, we are on the hunt for the first 300 donors to get to $10,000 for the first 3 weeks. So it's kind of a sprint to get to 300 donors. So if you just go to markdavisforcongress.com, you can donate right there. But anyway, they've just done amazing work so far. I'm super happy with them and where we're taking the campaign. But
Let me say, as a marketing guy, Mark, I felt as though, without disparaging anybody, the first attempt at the website was not the greatest, and then you invested more in the website. The new one looks terrific. Really, I think captures the essence of your movement, your campaign, what you're trying to accomplish. It looks great. The photography is very good, and you're encapsulating your message, I think, really well in there, and a lot of the values that you stand by. You do a really good job capturing that on the website. MarkDavisForCongress.com, folks. You should go there. You should check it out. You should donate because he's, as he said, you finally have a dog in the fight if you're in Florida District 16.
Yes. And another thing about the website is it was helpful for me too, because a lot of people don't know what district they're in. They obviously know what city
100%.
or so we listed all. Hey, if you're in Manatee County or Hillsborough County, or if you're in these specific cities within those counties, we have that scrolling across the top. That way, exactly, who's representing you. So. But anyway, yeah, I appreciate that, Chris. I couldn't speak more enough about what they've done with that website, but also we've taken a lot of that momentum. We took it to No Kings rally. That was really, really good turnout here in Sarasota. I saw you post some things as well too, right? You had pretty good turnout.
So I'll give you some recaps on our side, and I definitely want to hear all about your experience over at the No Kings rally. What I did on the podcast page is number one, here in Palm Beach had a fantastic turnout all around across the county, from Boca Raton to Lake Worth to West Palm Beach to Palm Beach Gardens. There were numerous rallies, all of them with an excellent turnout, with people that, they feel the way we feel, but they're in really good spirits when they're together. When you get these folks together, you see the difference between a January 6th protest and a No Kings protest. Okay, and what I also did, apart from what we saw locally here, is what I tried to do with the Dad Bods Threads page was to kind of create a sort of a running recap of what was going on throughout the day all across the country.
Oh, nice.
And that was tremendous because people really were excited and energized and engaged with, and I'm not taking credit for any of the content, but what was happening is by taking those videos of what people were doing in LA, Chicago, New York, Boston, San Diego, locally here in Florida, and many other places. There was Denver. There were a few others. And I just kept putting that up because people really were responding favorably to it. It just goes to show when there's a positive energy behind something, that it just rallies and galvanizes a whole community. And people were super excited to see all of that. And all the people that were a part of it, millions, up to 7 million people, all across the country being involved in it. I mean, it really, it's the best of America. That is America to me. America is not an orange painted douchebag crying, pissing, and moaning 24/7 about all the injustices that have been that are against him. And meanwhile, he's a billionaire and he's grifting all day, every day to enrich himself. And we have to hear those complaints. And then we have a government that has shown nothing but abject fealty to this man. And that's one side of the equation. They want to call what happened this weekend violent, Hamas, Antifa, whatever other aspersions that they think they're calling it. Fuck them. It's all bullshit. Don't believe a word of it. That's the best of America. People rallying together for a good cause. No kings. I can't think of something more American. I can't think of something more American than the idea that there are no kings, because that's how the country was born. So that's my viewpoint on the whole thing. And locally here, fantastic turnouts all around Palm Beach County. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you saw?
Yeah, I saw one of your posts on the Dad Bods page, and it really took off, and I think it had like 30,000 views or something like that. And I don't even think I reposted it on my page yet. So anyway, I was kind of watching what you were doing too. I was keeping an eye on how you were reporting, because I've kind of been a little bit less on social media lately, just because I've been trying to improve my ground game, and we're putting some infrastructure in place behind.
Yep, absolutely.
But anyway, just being at No Kings and being able to talk to people in my district, and you talk about them saying that it was violent people at No Kings, or whatever the right is trying to label the left as. It was America at No Kings. It was white people, it was black people, it was gay people, it was everybody. It was a beautiful thing, and everybody was comfortable, and they felt great being by like-minded people, and they felt like community. And it was a really awesome time for me specifically, because I had these brand new handouts, like my first handouts.
Oh yeah, cool.
As a congressman, and they got my information on it, and then on the back of it, it tells you what your rights are as you're protesting, just to make sure that you stay out of trouble. But anyway, I was talking to people, and I didn't want to bug them while they're there, right? But this would be a good opportunity to show them that somebody in their community is stepping up and taking a leadership role. And it was very It was very heartwarming how receptive people were and ready for somebody to take the lead. And we talked about who I'm going up against with Vern Buchanan and how he's been in politics, nearly his whole life. And he's made hundreds of millions of dollars since he's been in politics,
Holy
kind of
cow.
taking that from our community. And here I am running for Congress, and I'm not a millionaire, and I'm not, I'm just a regular guy, and I'm here standing with you in your community while this guy that's worth hundreds of millions of dollars can't take the time to do it, even though he isn't, even though it's shut down, the government's shut down, so
He's supposedly got nothing to do, right?
nothing to
He's
do,
not at
but
work, so
he's
to speak.
absent, and everybody kept reminding me how absent he was, so but we were able to get a lot of pictures with people. We were able to make a lot of connections. There's a lot of positive energy going around our campaign right now, and I tell people that, especially in my community, as I try to catch them up, right? Because I'm getting more and more popular. I'm pretty popular in like small groups and stuff like that. And I'm getting a larger and larger following, but obviously there's a lot more people that don't know anything about how I
Yeah.
started, and so I remind them and I tell them, I have hundreds of thousands of followers. I'm getting millions and millions of views every month through Facebook and different social medias, and now through Dad Bods, we have like an international way to reach people, and we can really get that message out. And we're getting donations from people from Texas and New York and Oregon, and from Kentucky, from red states too. We're
Yeah.
getting donations from all around the country, and I would love to bring that attention to District 16 and supercharge a way to turn this seat blue. And I honestly think there's a way we can do it. And Vern
It's definitely
Buchanan,
a way. The
definitely a way.
state's been gerrymandered, Mark, so it's not as though the people aren't there that
Hmm.
can help you win the election. There is definitively an audience for what you have to say, for your belief system, for your values, and what you represent. There is definitely an audience in District 16. It is not some red, like purely red area. It's been terribly gerrymandered. I mean, if you look at the Florida maps, they're almost preposterous. You know what I mean? There's like one in Miami where it's like kind of a rectangle. After that, the rest of them are all foobar. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like they're all crazy. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that the audience is there, and it is gerrymandered. So you have the reality you have to deal with, but the audience is there. Those folks that came out and they were with you. I think that what you said to them just by your presence being there. Um, showed that you're not just another politician like these other guys. You're a regular schlub like me, regular schlub like them, and you're just there to represent and to be a part of what this movement represents, not just to be, you know, I think these people have completely forgotten who they work for. The Republican Party thinks they work for Donald Trump. There was a time not that long ago that the entire Republican Party, we thought they just worked for the corporations, that they
Hmm.
just took whatever money and they did whatever the corporations wanted them to do in terms of floating legislation, lobbying, and so on and so forth. Well, that may have been the case until Big Dick Trump came around,
Hmm.
and for some reason, all these people are just intimidated. I mean, they're scared shitless of stepping out of bounds from this guy. Every single person that does ends up on the sideline or losing their seat or retiring. And it's all just pure cowardice. It's just
Yeah.
pure cowardice, and it's an abdication of their responsibility as a congressperson. And so, like, there's that side of it, which Vern Buchanan. By the way, you couldn't get an older sounding name than Vern Buchanan. He is he like a Confederate Civil War general that somehow was reanimated.
I don't know. He's.
So
I mean, but the thing is, he's gonna be in Washington D.C. and he's gonna whenever they open Congress back. Maybe he'll never go back to Washington D.C. Who knows?
at this point, is it genuinely like I'm concerned that they won't
Yeah.
seriously.
But But if they do, and even if they don't, he's not going to be in the community, and I'm going to be running around everywhere he's not, and that's going to be everywhere. And just yesterday, I was at a lady's house that was putting on a caucus for this next gen group, they're called. And the next gen group is a young group of Democrats that are trying to communicate with younger people to, instill Democrat values and tell them the truth about the Democratic Party. And they were introducing that next gen group during this meeting. There's about 30 or 40 people there. And I came to make connections, and I would love to hear about the younger community and hear about how they're helping to, righten the ship along with us. And then while I was there, they actually asked me to speak out in front of everybody. So I was able to tell a whole room of like-minded folks, in person who I was and my story and talked about our social medias and podcasts, and how we can amplify that message. But more so than anything, they just really grasped onto the fact that I'm just a father and a husband and a veteran in the middle of red Florida, here in Parrish, Florida. And I stood up, and I was tired of not being around like-minded people. And the people that I am around, I feel like they are basically turning into fascists, and that scares the
Yeah.
crap out of me, right? And it was everything I was doing, Chris, like all the followers and all the posts was because I already knew this point was going to happen, right? I was going to find a group here in Florida that I could call family, and we could get around, and I could show my wife and I could show my kids that we have the support that we need to properly run this campaign. And it almost gets me emotional because we have found that support. We
Yeah.
have found a home. We have found a family. We have found community. With the help that I'm getting from my agency, they are 100% on board with the mission. They wouldn't, work with somebody that wasn't doing something similar to what we're doing. When they work with the right groups, and the LGBTQ group has been super friendly. And then you have women's group that have reached out, and I'm starting to meet and communicate with higher level Democrats in the area. And Sarasota wants to help out, even though they're not quite in our voting district.
Hmm.
But we'll still take Sarasota's money too, So, but anyway, it's just been a good experience so far. We've kind of overcome that hump of like, oh shit, what's over the corner, right? We don't quite see what's there, but we're still going to run and run and run. And even though we're getting death threats, and even though we're getting crushed a little bit financially and all this stuff, right? I just said, we just got to keep going. It feels right. It feels right. And I feel like we're starting to get over that peak a little bit, and we're seeing that there is like a holy land out there, and we're going to kick ass.
Yeah. It's exciting. I mean, I really appreciate what you just said. I don't know if a lot of people understand what you mean. I think that maybe people who have felt ostracized by their family or something like that could relate to what you mean. But to hear that from somebody who's running for office, I think is surprising, and it's refreshing too. And of course, I think it's an unfortunate reality that a lot of Americans are dealing with, is that their immediate family, or they're just the people that they are generally around, um, have gone so far in this other direction,
Mm,
then they don't see it that way. I mean, they don't seem to understand that, um, that you no longer feel as though you are at peace, or that you have that security in your circle, in your circle of friends or family, or your workplace, or whatever it may be. I think for different people it might be a little bit different. So I've been in your position in the sense that a couple of years ago, people over here on the East Coast asked me to run, and at the time it wasn't right for me and my wife, with what we were trying to do. So, unfortunately, I had to kind of back off of doing that. But I mean, when I was in those meetings, when I was in those groups with people, and you're there with kindred spirits, and that energy is aligned, and great part. You know what I mean? That it's very motivating and it's reassuring and it's reaffirming that there are a lot of good people in this country that are motivated by the right things. And to be, surrounded by that is the reason why you want to do what you're talking about doing. Why you have thrown your hat in the ring, Mark, is it can't be an ego thing.
Yeah.
If you're being authentic, it can't be an ego thing. And I don't think it is with you.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there are a lot of folks that find it hard to believe. It's hard to believe that it's not an ego thing. But when you feel as though you are generating a response from people and they are looking to you,
Mm-hmm.
that's having a sense of leadership and sacrifice that I think most people, like honestly, most people are probably afraid to do that.
Yeah.
They're hesitant to take on that responsibility. I know when I was being asked and I was strongly considering it, I was very concerned about, where am I going to get the money from? I'm not a rich guy.
Yeah.
And my wife and I were trying to start our family, and frankly, to be honest with you, it wasn't going very well, and it was very difficult. It was a very trying time for the two of us. So I wasn't ready to throw yet another, some kind of additional stress onto our shoulders. And I think a lot of people are in a circumstance like that, where they either feel like they're not leaders, they don't have it in them, and it's not like it's not to diminish them. It's to say a lot of people feel like, oh, no one's really going to listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of got something going organically on social media, and that's how we met. And I built you up to say, like, you can do this. I believe in you, and having people say that to you,
Yep.
is reassuring. It's reaffirming. It's energizing. It means a ton. It really means a lot. So I think a lot of people are looking to you and saying, here's someone that we can get behind because he's going to fight. I mean, he's not just going to roll over and be, another Democrat wet noodle in there. And so, I fully have a lot of expectations. You got a lot of expectations to carry, my friend. So,
Yeah, and I think you nailed it. I wasn't going out looking for this, and I wasn't looking. I was just kind of looking for good trouble. I was just looking for friends out there, just to be close to people that were like-minded. But um, going along that point, I've made a. Do you hear about? And I don't necessarily want to drag somebody's name in the mud, but the guy that's running in Maine with the Nazi tattoo. Do you hear about that?
say that again.
Graham
Oh, yeah,
Plant.
the guy in Maine with the Nazi tattoo.
Yeah. And you always get worried about that. Like, is there something that's gonna pop up that, and I want to reassure everybody that I don't have any tattoos. But
Any tattoos?
no tattoos. But if I win, I did post on the internet, so I do have to do it now that if I win, I will get a fuck MAGA tattoo on my arm live on this podcast.
Sick. Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great promo, by the way. So I appreciate that, and we should definitely live stream you getting the fuck MAGA tattoo on your arm. So props to you for making that commitment and being willing to make that sacrifice, my friend.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
Yep.
Good. Going back to your campaign, do you want to talk a little bit about give me a recap of the event today, and then, you might have some things coming up that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so like I said, today we went to the soup kitchen, made a lot of good contacts there. I met the previous head of the Manatee County leadership there. And so we emailed her. We're having breakfast with her soon. And then the rest of the day, I kind of just spent getting caught up on some social media things. We didn't really have anything booked today, but tomorrow I have a lunch with a lady that I met at one of these events. And she's a prospective donor. And we're going to talk, just about my campaign, about where we're headed. Right now, honestly, Chris, I'm just kind of looking for advice from people that have been in this for a long time, that have been doing this for a long time, and any little nuggets of advice that I can steal quickly because we are doing this fast, and I've never been in politics before. I've only been doing the political thing maybe 5 months now, and half of that 5 months I was just winging it on my own. Now I have a team. So most of this is just trying to understand the lay of the land a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I almost don't want to get too comfortable with the lay of the land, and I don't want to get too in touch with, established Democrats, because I think that's some of the problem too. But I think having somebody out there that can kind of speak clearly on both sides and say, hey, the right, what they're doing is completely wrong. There's nothing right about what the right is doing. At the same time, the left has played games in the past too. We need to come to the table and come to some sort of more center agreement, because that's where 99% of the people live, is right in the middle. But for whatever reason, people are voting way outside of the middle when they vote for Donald Trump, and that scares the heck out of us. So we just need somebody that can talk normally to the majority of people, and level head. And I have a business background. I know how to talk to business people respectfully and honestly. I've done well with finances my life. I run a good household. I have a good family. I can speak to family values, so I felt like I was uniquely ready for this challenge. And everything, for whatever reason, it might have been the universe or something, just kind of lined up and said, Mark, go. And I went, and there was nothing that was going to stop me. And I already feel like we won. I already know we already won, and now we just have to show up and keep swinging.
Yeah. We talked about that in some of the other shows.
Mm-hmm.
It's about manifesting it. You have to act like and feel like and work like, you've already been successful. Like the success has already come, and now you are just following the blueprint of success and doing the things that need to be done. You're just doing the work now.
Yeah.
One thing I've learned in life is you really also have to enjoy the work. You can't, everything is not just getting to the destination and then that's it. You made it. It's going to be sunshine and rainbows from here on out. No, you have to enjoy the process of what you're doing and almost anything that you do. So whether it's your job, it's a passion you have, something around the house, you do like a house project you're doing, you want to try to enjoy that, because you're going to be doing it a while, and if you don't enjoy it, you're just going to be miserable, and it's not going to be memorable for the right reasons. And that's no way to live your life. So, what I appreciate about what you were saying is manifesting it. And, I would say take every step and enjoy it and revel in like the dog is saying, revel in every moment of what you're doing. And let me just add on something you were saying a moment ago about trying to, meet people, have done it or been in the sphere before. My concern, and I'll give you my concern on that, is that in Florida, the Democratic Party has failed miserably for decades. Okay, they've been horrible. And if any of them were in front of me, I would tell them to their faces. There's a bunch of them. And I could start naming names right now. I'm not going to do that out of respect for you and the fact that you need to run a campaign. But those of you who have been at leadership or in leadership across the state of Florida in the Democratic Party, your results could not possibly be worse. So what you need to start doing is getting behind people like Mark instead of ahead of people like Mark. Okay, Mark wants to learn from people who have been there and done that, but the problem is that the people that have been there, they have not done that. What they have done is lost. So we need to stop losing, and to do that, we need to, everything Mark just said, be relatable, talk to people's real concerns, uphold honesty and integrity. That means not kissing MAGA's ass. When MAGA says, the immigrants are the backbone of the country, it may be a cliche. It's the absolute fucking truth. I'll accept no other answers. But they're criminals. No, number one, far fewer immigrants are arrested for any kind of crime than any other American, any other sector of American society.
Yeah.
White guys like us get arrested way more than immigrants.
Yeah.
And every other minority and every other American citizenry gets arrested more and behaves in, is in more criminal behavior than immigrants. So I don't accept it, and I'm not going to debate with you about it if you're just going to demonize immigrants. But they should be here legally. And here's pathways to that. And guess what they're doing? Your boys in ICE are snatching people at their hearings when they come out. Legal. There are people who are legally getting snatched and sent out of the country. So I don't accept that either. So for MAGA, when Mark is speaking with you, you need to be authentic and honest and not just trumpet and parrot somebody's talking points. There's this guy who just thinks that whatever he says, because it came out of his mouth, must be the truth, when everything he says is a lie. So we cannot have a same dialogue. We cannot have a dialogue if we're just believing the lies that come out of this guy's mouth and we're not being honest with ourselves when we know better, when we know in our hearts that all this guy does is lie. So people like Mark are out here to be honest, to be authentic, to be themselves, to represent the people in the community, just to be out in the community, not millionaires, not billionaires, not taking money from those kind of people. And we want you on the other side to be able to have a realistic dialogue with a guy named Mark Davis for Congress.com.
Yeah. Attaboy.
And that's where we're at. I mean, that's what we want. That's how we can get ahead and get out of this Trump spin cycle that we've been in for 10 years. I don't know how, if you're, Mark, I don't know your feelings on this. I don't know how, if you're in, a Republican or you're in MAGA or you're in any space in American society, that it is acceptable to you that for 10 years, Donald Trump has made himself the focal point of our country. It's never happened before.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could argue FDR, when he got a special dispensation to be president for 3 terms during the war, was the focal point. But I don't feel as though the history books tell us that he wanted to make himself the focal point of every single thing that was going on. So, I mean, right now, and then you look at the two individuals, they couldn't possibly be more different. So I don't really want to make that comparison.
Yeah.
In any event, I do think that it's time to move on from this guy. We can't do it soon enough. Mark, do you want to talk about what's going on in the news real quick? We'll wrap it up with just some highlights, or rather lowlights of what's going on in America today. What have you been keeping up on?
There's a couple interesting stories that I was keeping up on. One of them was kind of an obscure story that I always like to look for these obscure stories because I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like reporters put these obscure stories in place sometimes just to warn you of something that's coming. And like there's a bigger story in this tiny story. And it was about Tesla. And Tesla is releasing a new update to their self-driving cars that is called Mad Max. Okay? And this update...
What does that mean?
This update will allow the self-driving to speed, pull stop signs, and weave in and out of traffic. Okay? Yeah. And Biden stopped this in 2022. I think Elon Musk wanted to release this programming in 2022, and Biden said no. And but fast forward now, there's no watchdogs, and Musk is just doing it, and there's nobody to tell him not to do it. There's no agency, there's no watchdog, there's no control, right? So now, quietly, they didn't market it or anything. It was just a quiet update on select Teslas that have the full self-driving. I don't know all the technicalities, but there could be an option for Mad Max that violates our highway rules.
Man, that is bizarre. I've never heard of that. I'm going to have to look that up.
Yeah.
Sounds scary as shit, because there's this, I'll just make just a silly kind of, comparison or connection. There was a show on Amazon called Upload.
No, yeah.
Part of the way Upload kicks off is this guy gets in a self-driving car. The self-driving car kills the guy, and that kicks off the whole story as to what then unfolds. You're nodding as though you've seen it.
Yeah, great show. Great.
It is really good, actually, and they have a new season. I'm going to watch that. But the point of that is that it was programmed in such a way that the guy who got in the car, the car was controlled externally, and the guy was killed. Like, he was assassinated with the self-driving car. Not to say necessarily that Mad Max mode is doing that, but it sounds like that's where they can go with it, and it sounds utterly insane to allow a car to self-drive in a reckless manner. I don't understand the application of that.
Let me put my dog inside.
Hey, doggy, see you later.
Joke on a bunch of different lengths. Okay.
It's all right, buddy.
Yeah.
We'll get you in there with your dog soon, but I mean that I can't understand what the reason for that could possibly be.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the only thing I can think is like people want the car to drive like they actually drive, and they don't. Maybe one of the complaints about self-driving is that it doesn't perform how they would really drive, and they want to get there faster.
Bro, that's crazy to me. That's just crazy. Like, then just drive. Like, fucking drive.
Drive.
Okay? You want to drive? Fucking drive. Like,
if you want to break the law, hopefully you're like you have the steering wheel in your hand when you're doing it.
Yeah. I'm gonna do something real quick just to amuse myself. I had this idea. What would be on the front pages of MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News if we refreshed all of them at the same time? At the time of this recording, who's talking about what? Here's MSNBC. The main story is Gabbard Bondi Patel confirmed there's another weaponization group to target Trump's foes. That's just terrific. Couple of side stories. Trump just levied new sanctions on Russia. John Brennan rips insecure Trump and supplicant Jim Jordan after DOJ referral. Oh, that's the guy that they're going to go after, or one of them. Jack Smith offers to testify in public hearing. There's a reason photos of Trump's East Wing demolition have struck a chord. Now, I'm going to get into that. I think that should be the last thing we touch on. But on CNN, the top story is mafia-linked gambling charges rock NBA and sports world.
No way.
All right, listen. That sounds salacious and enticing, but get the fuck out of here, man. This guy's literally mowing down the fucking White House right now. I don't give a fuck if Chauncey Billups is betting $100 on who's gonna in a fucking like parlay who's gonna fucking win tonight in the Blazers game and in the fucking Heat game and the Bulls game. I don't give a shit. This guy is knocking down the White House. So CNN, I'm so glad you didn't disappoint because, as usual, you're a sack of shit. Fucking unbelievable. And then the subhead over here, another story is Trump insists he can strike alleged drug traffickers without Congress declaring war. Terrific. Let's just keep murdering people that we don't know who they are.
Yeah. And if you're a casual reader, me and you, we have our finger on the pulse of the day-to-day with this chaos. But if you're a casual reader and you read the headline of the mafia and, taking over the NBA and you're like, oh, that sucks. And then you read a small blurb, about, Donald Trump that it doesn't really catch your attention. There's no exclamation marks. It just says FYI. You would just keep moving on, That's why people aren't engaged because nobody's saying the places that people that we need engaged. Nobody's saying like, shit, the world's on fire. Nobody's quite saying it yet.
And the last thing on Fox News, their headline is Trump fires back at B-1 bomber report while warning drug smugglers during White House roundtable. By the way, as we've all come to find out, it would take you 20 refuels to get one of these tiny fucking boats to America. And never going to happen, dude. Do you know what goes, like, we're in Florida, so we know what goes on out there today. They're not getting there. They're not getting there.
No.
Okay? It's just never going to happen. So they're murdering people for no fucking reason. Let's just be clear about that. And if they're using B-1 bombers to do it, talk about a colossal waste of money on top of just literally the phrase overkill could not be more appropriately used. And then of course they have another shutdown is Democrats face toughest political shutdown hurdle yet as November 1 deadline looms. Of course, we know who has all three branches of the government, but leave it to the Republicans to continue to gaslight the American people into thinking that somehow everybody else has control of the situation. You want to make a deal, I know this is shocking. When you want to make a deal, usually you have to concede something to the other side you're making the deal with. So somebody can walk away from the table with something that they wanted. And usually the expression is a good deal is a situation where everybody got something what they wanted, but no one got everything they wanted. So they're not even doing that. I mean, this is really to, disguise and, cover up the Epstein files and use our trademark term, the Trumpstein files. This is to bury the Trumpstein files, and that's all it's about. So, Mark, any final words on today's program?
No, man. You could go on and on with the news.
You could go on.
And, at some point, what we're trying to do is just trying to stop chase every headline and start building something that is impactful and is going to start taking down this monster. I think people are sick of Trump, man. People are tired of him. I don't care if you're right or left.
He's knocking down the fucking White House, bro. Nobody asked for this. You fucking cocksucker.
They want somebody that talks right and speaks truthfully and normally and has some charisma. Come on, guys. If you want a different option, other than Trump, he's tearing families apart. He's tearing the White House apart. He's tearing the country apart. Just come on board. Go to markdavisforcongress.com. We're a fiery group, and we're just tired of the bullshit.
Great. All right, Mark. Sounds good. Let's wrap it up. Everybody watching at home, we appreciate you. Thank you for your support. More importantly, support democracy. Till next time. Peace.